think we're live.
We are
Yes, we are live. Yes, we are. Hello, everyone. For those of you who haven't seen me before today, because we did a show this morning off the cuff very quickly. So for those of you who knew this afternoon, good afternoon, and I hope you're having a good day. I hope that in America, all of you people getting ready for Thanksgiving, that you're not going crazy in the kitchen too much. To remember, you know, when I used to cook a real Sunday lunch, because in England everyone in the country would have their Sunday lunch for roast, and it was a sort of a fairly long job to do it. And what we used to do was, well, what I always used to do is I would pour a glass of Harvey's Bristol cream sherry. Now, it wouldn't be a small sherry glass, it would be a schooner, which is a double, like a double sherry. Harvey's Bristol cream is my favourite. I use it in my trifles, and I like to drink it when I'm in the kitchen working and so on, because it's just a lovely, delicious, nice, soothing pre-dinner aperitif anyway. So every now and again throughout the cooking process I would take a sip of sherry, and I might even end up with 2 schooners of sherry during the cooking process, depending on the mood I was in, but it was always great to have. So don't frazzle yourselves. It will get done anyway. If it's late, if dinner's late on the table, well, that's all right. You've got more time to chat and talk and for people to get to know each other and all the rest of it. However, today we're finishing talking about Thanksgiving. But what we're going to do now is we're going to be talking about healing. And yes, I am again going to tell you another healing story. This story is a little different than many of my healing stories, because this is not about a patient. This is about a healer. This is about... what is it about? It's about the island of Crete. I don't know if any of you have ever been there, but it's a beautiful island. It's the island of Crete in the Mediterranean, one of the Greek islands, and it's one of my favourite places to be, one of my favourite places to go. We were there, when I say we, my boyfriend at the time and my daughter Samantha, she was quite young. I'm trying to think how old she would be, sort of 14 or 15, something like that. And we had this little Fiat car, and a Fiat is very tiny. But we had it we were there for a month, and maybe a bit longer than a month, and we were driving. We wanted to visit the whole of the island. We wanted to go to the north and the south and all the rest of it. So we had spent a day on the beach. The story is now beginning. I'm sorry, I should say. The story is now beginning. But before I begin the story, sorry, I did forget. We already did this once this morning, but I'd like to say welcome to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is standing next to me. I'd like to say hello, Michelle, who is still sitting on the floor. I did allow her to get up from this morning, and we had bacon sandwiches. Were they good or not good, Michelle?
That is the best bacon ever.
Isn't it though? They were good bacon sandwiches, right? So anyway, back to my story. So I know that a lot of you don't have a lot of time to watch this show today, because you will be cooking and doing all those other things. So, all right, so let's get to the story. So we're in we're in the Greek islands. We're on the island of Crete. Crete is an unusual island. First of all, it's an odd shape. It's sort of long and skinny, like a bit of looks like a pan, wide at a little bit wide at one end and then tails off at the other. And as I've said, we had this little Fiat car and we used to travel all over the place. Well, this particular day we'd been to the beach, and we'd spent most of the day at the beach, and on the way back from the beach we saw sort of off the road, in a little bit of the distance, we saw a tavern that sat up in the hills. We thought, let's go try that place. And so off we went, and we had to wait for a table, but we finally got a table. Gorgeous place, gorgeous views. Oh, the food was divine, as I love Greek food anyway, so the food was absolutely divine. The chef there, I was so curious, he was cooking octopus, and I'd never actually cooked octopus before. In fact, I'd never eaten octopus before I went to Crete, and I was watching him do it, and I was asking him what he was doing, and I had a little mini cooking lesson from him, which was lovely. And then we went and sat and ordered our food, and at some point the waitress, who it turned out was also the owner of the place, she and her husband, the chef, owned the place, and we're sitting there. A lot of people had left by this time, lunch was over, dinner wasn't quite beginning yet, and she came and sat at our table and plopped herself down on a chair next to us, pulled another chair up, put her feet up and started talking to us. And she asked where we were on holiday and where we were from and so on and so forth. And at some point during the conversation, she said to me, "And so what do you do?" I told her that I was a spiritual medium and a healer. "Oh," she said, "so have you heard of John Michaelides?" "No, I've never heard of John Michaelides." "Oh, he lives in the village of Spitali," and she explained where it was. And she said, "You know, you really should go and talk to him." And I thought, you know what? You're right. I really should go and talk to him. So we decided, my boyfriend was very amenable to going off. And again, we were exploring anyway. And again, we had this little Fiat car, which was sort of fairly hot when you were traveling for a long time in it, because we're cramped up. We're all cramped up, the three of us. But so we're looking for the town of Spitali, which we finally found somewhere on a map as a teeny little dot. So we drive, and we drive, and we drive some more, and then we drive some more. And probably about 2 hours later, we're still driving, and we're looking for this little village of Spitali. And all of a sudden we come into, it's like no man's land. We're driving for a good half an hour, 45 minutes. We don't see another car. We don't see a building. We barely see any trees. We're just driving. It's sort of a bit sort of desert-like. And my boyfriend says, "I think somehow we've missed it. We should go back." And I'm so keen to talk to this man, to meet this man, John Michaelides. I say, no, let's just keep going for a little bit longer. And eventually, after a long while, we came to, sort of on the road, this little wooden post. And it was a signpost, except that it was so small, and the letters on the signpost were so faded, we could barely read what it said, but it pointed Spitali, barely see it. We thought, thank goodness. We keep driving, and we come into a big open space. I suppose the village might call it the village square. There was nothing in there. There was no buildings. There was nothing around it, but it was just that sort of the road widened out into this big square space. And standing sort of to one side of this square, there was a man just standing there. And my boyfriend drove right through the square and carried on, continue back on the road. And I said to him, wait, no, that's him. And he looked at me, he said, "Don't be ridiculous. Of course it's not him. Why would it be him?" And then he remembered what I did and who I was, and he, "Oh, all right then." So I said, "You need to turn around, because I'm absolutely positive that that's him." So we drive back into the square. My boyfriend pulls up the car. The windows are open because it's so hot, and he leans in. This man leans in. He was tall and skinny looking, and he leaned right into the car, and he looked right past my boyfriend, and he looked at me. I was sitting in the passenger seat, and he looked right at me, and he looked right into my eyes. And my boyfriend had said, "Can you tell us, do you know of a John Michaelides?" And the man looked right into my eyes and he said, I am John Michaelides, and I think I must be waiting for you. Have you got hairs all the way up and down your arms right now? Sort of spooky story time in the middle of nowhere, and nobody knows us and we don't know anybody else, and there is a man standing in a wilderness looking right into my eyes saying, I am John Michaelides and I think I must be waiting for you. We went to his house. Now, it's a long story, so I'm going to sort of shorten this version, but if you do want to hear more of the story, you can find that story in The Eagle and the Rose, but I'm not finished yet. So, he takes us to his house, and his wife is lovely, and thank goodness she brings us lots and lots of wedges of watermelon and drinks, you know, nice sort of ice water and drink orange juice and what have you. And we sit there and he tells me the story of what happened to him that morning. Now it happens that John Michaelides, Greek, yes, he lived in England for a long time, probably 20-30 years. And while he was in England, he became involved with the Spiritist Church, and he became a healer, and so that was his profession. But when he came back home to Spitali, where he was born and raised, he wanted to do more healing, but he had difficulty because the church has rules, and a lot of the people in Greece are Catholic, and they didn't agree with his healing at the time, or the church didn't agree with it, so on and so forth. So not only was he a healer, very sensitive guy, very, very sensitive man, he also was a water diviner. Now in the village of Spitali, and in fact all the way around, and in many, many places on many of the Greek islands, water is sparse. But John Michaelides used to be able to find water in odd places. So the locals, if they were building, for instance, if they were putting an extension on their house, or if they were building a well, or if they were looking for water, which you would in this, if you know Crete, it's a little bit sort of rocky and desert-like, and anyway, so he was kept extremely busy by people in and around Spitali because he was the known water diviner. That morning, he had, and it was a Sunday morning, that morning he had walked, probably 10 or 15 miles to get to this, a field where he was going to divine water for one of his clients. He'd walked all the way there. It's hot, it's a long way to walk, but he didn't mind it. He walked all the way there, started to set up his water divining stuff. He laid it all out and he got everything ready, and as he's just about to begin, he tells me he hears a voice. Go back to Spitali. Go back to the square and wait. And he thinks to himself, I'm not, forget that. I am not going to walk all the way back. I've come here, I'm going to do this job. So he carries on and he gets his rods all sorted out, and he starts to walk up the field. As he starts to walk up the field, he hears the voice again, loud and clear. He says, go back to Spitali, go back to the square and wait. And again he thinks, I'm not walking all the way back there. I've got a job to do. If I don't do it today, it means me coming back another day. I'm not. So he carries on and continues on for a little way further until he hears the voice again. Now, some of you know I always obey the 3-time rule. You always make sure that you listen to the 3-time rule. And apparently John Michaelides had the same rule, because again, for the 3rd time, he hears the voice. This time, the voice is shouting in his ear. Now, when he's telling this story to most people, as I am telling this story to you, there are lots of people out there who are saying, oh, come on, you don't hear voices. Well, actually, I do. And I do understand why people hear voices. And I do understand when you hear voices in the middle of doing something, or in the middle of, even in the middle of driving. I've heard voices which say turn left when I really want to go straight on. But if I hear that voice say turn left, it's because I know that someone is guiding me to a place I need to be, or to avoid an accident, or whatever. So John Michaelides was used to, wasn't unusual for him to hear the voices, but third time this voice shouted really loudly at him, right in his ear again, go back to Spitaling, go back to the square and wait. He walks back. In the meantime, we are driving, looking for anything that gives us an indication of where Spitali is. And he's just arrived in the square. Less than 5 minutes, he's in the square. He tells us, and he's standing there wondering, well, I'm here, so now what? He couldn't figure out, well, what do I do now? But he also knew better because of his previous experiences that he better stay in the square until he knows why he's there. And then he sees his little tiny Fiat car come trundling down the road, and then he hears a voice, my boyfriend's voice in this case, saying, do you know who John Michaelides is? He knew straight away as soon as he saw me. I don't know how he knew, but you know how that works. We don't know how we know sometimes, but we just simply know. He knew that he was waiting for me, and the same way that as we drove past him, I knew that he was John Michaelides. We're talking now, we had driven at least 2 hours in our car to find him. We certainly hadn't called him. We hadn't let him know we were coming. We'd just done it on the spur of the moment. We'd woken up that morning and I'd said, why don't we go today? Of course, you think it's the spur of the moment, don't you? You think it's your decision, but really, it really isn't. There are certain things that are meant to happen. There are certain people who are meant to meet, and there are certain times when those people are meant to meet. So here we are, we're driving down the road, and here he is, and now we're in his home, and he's telling us this, what most people would consider to be a fantastic story, but to he and I, we're just smiling at each other and looking at each other, and we're nodding, because he understands that he's meant to meet me, and I understand that I'm meant to meet him, although neither of us quite knows yet why we are meant to meet. So he tells us this story, and then he tells us about the fact that he was in England and that he'd gone to a particular church and he'd trained as a healer, but that he didn't use his healing skills any longer. I thought, as Grey Eagle taps me on the shoulder, well, maybe that's why I'm here. Cutting a long story very short, I ended up giving him a consultation. His mother came through from the spirit world to talk to him, and one of the messages she gave him was this. And as we left Spitali, promising to come back, as we left, I said to him, remember what your mother said to you. One day, very, very soon now, you are going to begin your healing work again. We drove home. We arrived. We were tired. We just opened a bottle of wine and a knock came at the door, and we opened the door to this. We were sort of in an apartment. We opened the door and there was a lady there who owned the apartment building, and she thought she'd just come and say hello to us and make sure that we had everything we needed. And I said, well, please come in and have a glass of wine with us. We told her our story. And she said to me, I have a daughter who has curvature of the spine, and it's really bad, and it's getting worse and worse now. She's a teenager. Would you come and have breakfast with me in the morning and meet her? Which we did. She was on the top floor. She was in the what do they call that? The suite, the
penthouse.
The penthouse suite. Thank you. She was in the penthouse suite. We met the family, I met the daughter, and I said to her, you know, I think there is someone you should meet. 2 days later, we went in her car, which was a much bigger, much more luxurious car, and we drove to meet John Michaelides. I introduced this lady to John, and also we'd taken her daughter with us, and we introduced the daughter. He at some point went off with the daughter to give her healing. We sat with John's wife, and we had drinks and food and nice stuff, and sure enough, word got out, and the next thing, when I went home, I had a letter from John saying, you'll never believe it, but I've got so many patients and I'm healing every single day. Every day I'm giving healing. When his mother had given the message to him, one day very soon, and she did say to him, you're probably not going to believe me, but one day very soon now you're going to begin your healing work again. We didn't expect that it was going to be 2 days later. I'm a spiritual medium. I am guided. I try to work wherever possible. I'm also a healer, and I work as a healer. I know you'll know that, but here is John Michaelides, used to working as a healer, going back home and then doing water divining, because he was not really allowed to do healing, and then all of a sudden we meet. Two strangers meeting, two strangers coming from, sort of different parts of the world, really, not ever having heard of each other, not ever having known about each other. The spirit world brought us together for a reason. The spirit world brought us together because he just needed that little boost, and somehow or another I was put in place to find him his first patients, and then the whole thing snowballed. Things happen for a reason. Things happen when they're meant to be. It's easy for us, isn't it, to say, those of us who have faith, it's easy for us to say, you just trust in God, and it'll all work out. It's hard to trust. But when you hear stories like this, and they're so weird, he walking 15 miles back for what? He doesn't know. Go back to the square and wait. Can you imagine? If you heard that voice in your head, you'd think you were crazy, wouldn't you? I've heard voices in my head and thought I was crazy many, many times. It's an amazing story. If you are meant to work, if you are meant to do things like that, then you will absolutely know that when you are ready, the teacher will come. When you are ready, your patients will come, your clients will come, whatever it is that you're meant to do, whether it's in the spiritual realm or whether it's in some other area of work. If you are meant to do a thing, if you listen carefully and you dare to follow the instructions and you dare to heed the voices as they help you and guide you, as those in the spirit world always try to do. In this case, I think it was John's mother who was helping and guiding him when he heard go back and wait. It was certainly Greg guiding me, and if we trust and we listen and we pay attention. So many people say to me, I want to know what my role in life is meant to be. Well, listen, because if you listen carefully, you'll know exactly what your role is meant to be. And I thought I'd share that story with you today. I do also have to tell you that the family, the Greek family, the girl with the curvature of the spine, really responded to his healing, and so did, apparently, over the next few years, hundreds of other people also responded to John's healing. So it is Thanksgiving tomorrow for so many people, and Thanksgiving for so many people in this country. So, I just am putting it out there that one of the things that I am thankful for is for my gift, and one of those things that I am thankful for is that I have met through my work so many fabulous people, and I am so thankful for people like John Michaelides, who literally gives his life to helping others. That's my story for today. All right, we're going to have a healing session now, so I'd like you to sit wherever. If you feel like lying down, or well, then go ahead and do it. And I'm sort of losing my blouse here. Wait a minute, there we are. That's better. And so if you sit quietly, feet on the ground, please, hands, palms upwards in a receiving position. Are you ready? When we were kids, we used to listen to Mother on the radio. Yes, I'm afraid we didn't have too much TV when I was a kid. You didn't realise I was this old, did you? But we would listen to, the program was called Listen to Mother. And even when my daughter was a little girl, we would listen with Mother, and somebody would tell us a story, or tell the kids a story. And they'd always begin with, ready? Are you ready? Then I'll begin. So if you are ready, feet on the ground, hands palms upwards in your laps, then I'll begin. Breathing nice and easily, using your solar plexus, that bit in the middle there. Breathe in through your solar plexus, breathing in beautifully. If you are thinking of texting or asking questions or that sort of thing, you need to not do it for the next 5 minutes or so, and then you can do whatever you want to do, because we will be taking questions later. But okay, so we need to breathe in, breathe up into your lungs, visualizing the color blue, which is the universal healing color. Close your eyes and visualize either yourself wrapped in a nice blue, soft, warm blanket. That baby blue, that beautiful, soft, beautiful blue that you could just curl up into. Or you can visualize yourself lying on beautiful green lawns, or even on a beach with the sun shining down on you, blue skies overhead, and feeling the warmth of the sun, the light of God, the warmth of God, the warmth of the sun sort of penetrating, sort of coming right into you, filling you with that beautiful, beautiful healing light, that beautiful healing blue. Let go. Hands, palms upwards on your lap, remember, in a receiving position, because we use these little tiny palm chakras right in the centers there, in your palm centers. We're going to breathe again, eyes closed, breathing in. Dear God, please allow us to participate in your healing work. Allow us to be a part of the healing process. Allow us to tap into and to connect with that universal healing energy which is out there for all of us. And dear God, I will to thy will. And breathing in. Holding for as long as you possibly can, and then visualize all of that beautiful energy permeating throughout your body, traveling down your arms, traveling all the way down through your hands and out through your fingertips. Again, breathing in, filling your lungs with that healing energy. For those of you having difficulty, just imagine that I'm right next to you. I'm standing behind you with my hands on your shoulders. You can take as much energy, you can take as much of me as you want. I've got more than enough to give to you and anybody else who wants it. So if you are having a struggle, visualize that I am right there with you, because in my way I am, in a spiritual sense, I am right there with you. So use me, tap into that beautiful, beautiful healing energy that exudes out from me and as far as it needs to go, touching you, filling you up. Breathing in through your solar plexus. Breathe in, nice and easy and gentle, and holding in your lungs, holding gently, nicely. And letting go. Let's do it again. And breathing in. Again, visualizing the blue blanket. If you'd like to thread it with pinks and greens, all of those wonderful healing colours. Pink, baby pink, is the colour of love. Green is the colour of peace and harmony. Sometimes if we're feeling sick, or even when we're well, because I think healing belongs to everyone and we should do it on a daily basis, all of us, whether we're sick or whether we're not. Sometimes we just want to wrap ourselves up and give ourselves the love and the joy. So using the colour pink, baby pink, using the colour green, beautiful new green leaf, beautiful pale soft greens. Of course also gold. Gold is the colour of, it's a spiritual colour. Gold is the colour of God's love, indicating God's love. The energy that comes with the colour gold is indicative of our soul, the love of the soul, the love of God. It's a very spiritual colour, it's a very beautiful colour. So imagine, sometimes it's even easier if you close your eyes. Just keep breathing as I showed you to keep breathing. So as you're listening to me, just keep your breathing going and keep holding it in your lungs and then just letting it go. Sometimes it's very helpful if we sort of can imagine sort of lots of ribbons wrapping themselves around us, the colours of gold, green, pink and blue. You can wrap these ribbons around you if that's easier for you to do it. I also suggested last week for some of you, and I know because of the emails we get and the messages that we get, I know that some of you found this worked really well. Visualize a huge jug of water, and God's hand is holding it. Of course, it's not really water, it's energy, but God's hand is holding it and is pouring it down through your top chakra. There it is, right in there. And it's filling you. Just the water's going in, it's filling you up again, and more until you feel that you just want to let it go. Allow it to go all the way through your body. Visualize it going through your body and out through your fingertips, even out through your toes. Just fill yourself up with this beautiful energy that is being given to you and filling you up. Okay, a couple more minutes. We're going to do this again, breathing in, and whichever way works for you. Nice, beautiful healing, lovely, soft healing energy. Let it flow. Let it flow out of you. Let it flow through you. And allow that healing energy to work through you. And a deep breath, and relax. And just let yourself sink into it. Slowly, carefully, gradually open your eyes. And you can stretch if you want to stretch. It's always a good thing to stretch, to feel sort of stretched out. You'll feel filled up, you'll feel renewed, you'll feel peaceful, you'll feel calm, and that lovely feeling will stay with you, because that energy that is within you will stay with you for the rest of the day and maybe even for the rest of the week. For all of you who thought that you wouldn't have time today to do this, when you don't have time is when you should be giving yourself healing. When you are going crazy, you're fraught with all sorts of stuff going on, that is the time that you need to give yourself healing. One time, maybe next week or maybe the week after, I'm going to, as we do this and as we do our healing session, I'm going to play one of my meditation tapes for you. So as we're doing the meditation, and you'll hear the music, you'll hear my voice on the meditation, and you'll hear me perhaps chipping in from time to time, but I'm going to show you perhaps how it works if you do have meditation music. Now, some of you may already have stuff that you use and that you're happy with. You don't have to have my meditation tapes. I mean, you'll hear my voice. You'll hear my voice on the tape, but you will also hear music which has been especially designed to connect with and to meld with my voice and to create the energy, the healing energy that we do want to have around us as we're doing these exercises. So whether it's next week or the week after, whenever it is, we're going to see if we can set up a CD and to play a little bit of that, of one of the meditation tapes, just so that you'll get an idea of how it sounds and how it feels to use music in your healing meditations. Right. I'm coming over to Michelle. This is the time when, if you do have a question, feel free, get those questions out there. If you want to ask a question or if you want to make a comment, please feel free to do so. So do we actually have anyone making a comment?
We have several comments.
Okay, let's go then.
Marlise says, hi to all, much love.
Hi.
Lori said, I seem to always have difficulty with the Facebook Live programs. Connection always seems to skip. I'll watch later on, Michelle, with a big smiley face.
Yeah, we're going to, for those of you who are having trouble, Michelle will download and then upload. Is that the correct way to say it, Michelle?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
never know, but it will be on YouTube at some time later on today. Maybe
It'll go out in the email today, too.
It'll go out in the email today, so you will have all your connections. And again, for those of you who haven't heard us say it a trillion times, or you're perhaps new to this, it's the first or second time, if you would like to be on our mailing list, you do need to request it. Just sending us an email does not automatically put you on our emailing list. I want to say healing list. So if you want to be on our mailing list, you need to write to us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, and just in the subject line put mailing list, or put healing, or put consultation, or we don't care what it is you put, but whatever it is that you're interested in, please put it in the subject line, and Michelle then will see which folder to put it in and how to get to it as quickly as she possibly can. If you don't put the subject in the subject line, if you don't do that, it's just harder for us to, because
I'll still get to it. It might just take me longer.
Yeah, she'll get to it, but yes, exactly, it'll take her longer to do it. So, all right, let's. Next, Michelle, you're up.
Sarita.
Good morning, Sarita. Or actually, good afternoon it is, actually.
Hello, my dear Rosemary. It's the first time I've been able to catch you live.
Oh.
Love your work, and you are a beautiful, kind soul. Love and light.
Thank you. Love and light to you, too. That girl knows me very well. I always sign my emails and my correspondence with love and light because, you know, we are of the light, we are full of light, we want to connect with the light, don't we? And of course love as well. So love and light goes out to you too. Yep.
And then Sharon said, I hope all who participate in Thanksgiving have a great one filled with love and joy.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
That any holiday involving pie is a good one.
Oh, well, I have to disagree, right? I know the tradition is pecan pie, and I love pecans. I really do love pecans. but I'm not allowed to eat nuts. So not even a little bit, because they're not good for my kidney. So I don't eat nuts unless they're so finely ground, and even then I'm not supposed to eat them, but I do make certain exceptions occasionally. But I'm much more about cream and pastries and custards and trifles, and so that would be my choice of dessert. I'm not a pie lover, but I know that so many of you out there, I think it's an American pie thing, right? So, don't you think Americans like pies?
I don't know. We're not big
in England
sweet
we have
eaters.
apple pies. The Brits like apple pies, but anyway, that's all I'm saying with that. But thank you. Let's keep going, Michelle. So you sneezing and full of
All of a
cold
sudden, my
there.
nose just went crazy.
I know, isn't that awful? That happens sometimes. So if we give her just a second. And
Judith says hello to all.
good afternoon, Judith.
Tanya says thank you for sharing your wonderful experiences.
Yes,
And-
did you like the story, everyone? My John Michaelides story is one of my favourite people ever that I ever met.
Nettie said, thank you, Kumu, especially as we celebrate Thanksgiving. I am very thankful for you.
Good.
Debbie said, thank you for all that you do. The healing is just what I needed today.
Oh, good. Well, you know, as I've said every time, even if you have to watch it recorded, it's still in effect. One of my patients, Angie, I don't think I've told you the story of Angie.
Not yet.
But maybe that's for next week. But she had my one of my meditation CDs, the first one I ever made. And it was so funny because you play it all the time, and her daughter, who was probably 10 years old at the time, she knew it by heart. She knew when to pause, she knew when to stop, she knew when to start. She just knew this by heart. And what Angie used to do is, even if she were driving, or if she were in the supermarket and not feeling very well, or whatever it is, because she would listen to the healing meditation all the time, and she totally knew it by heart, she would just repeat it to herself, and she would visualize in her head. She would hear the music playing, and she'd hear my voice playing. So please, you know, and it was really effective for her, really effective for her. So don't think that because you didn't see it live it's not going to work as well, because it actually works equally well whether you see it live or whether it's a recording, because energy is energy. And when you are listening to me, wherever it is you are in the world, when you're listening to me, and especially when we're giving healing, those in the spirit world surround us, you know, and they know exactly what it is that we want, and they know that if we're listening to the healing and working with healing, that even though I'm a recording, you're watching a recording, they are not. They are, as you're watching me, drawing close to you and going to give you their healing love and their healing energy. So please don't think that it's it's secondary, or somehow it weakens the healing process just if it isn't live, because it actually makes really no difference whatsoever. Yeah, let's have another question, comment, whatever.
Marley says, thank you for the 3rd time rule. I have noticed indeed that when I hear it 3 times, it is serious.
You better pay
thought
attention.
I was just being silly.
Oh, no. My 3-time rule is, gosh, since I've been an adult, since I've been on my own, since I've had my own, I think I noticed it more when my daughter was younger, because we always applied the 3-time rule. There was never a question. If it was, please don't do that once, please don't do that twice, and then it was, this is your 3rd and final warning, please don't do that. But the tone changes. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. This is your 3rd warning. Don't do that. You know? And then if it carried on, I'm afraid there would be consequences. But the same rule applies if you hear a voice, like the story with John Michaelides. you hear it the first time. It's happened to me so many times. Maybe next week I'll tell you the story of my standing at the post office and hearing the voice loud and clear in a post office filled with people, and I'm hearing the voice telling me that I should do something that I absolutely do not want to do and refuse to do until it's my turn at the counter. And I'll tell you that story perhaps next week if Michelle reminds me. I'll tell you that story. But if you ignore the 3-time rule, if you hear a voice, or if you have a feeling, or you sense that something or another, and it happens to you and you ignore it, if you ignore it a 3rd time, there will be consequences. The consequence often will be that you missed a great opportunity. The consequence might be that if you didn't listen and when somebody was telling you to turn right, the consequence will be that all of a sudden you're mired sitting in a traffic jam waiting because there's an accident there, but somebody in the spirit world did try and tell you if you turn right you can avoid it. So there are consequences whenever we ignore the 3-time rule. Certainly there should be consequences for our kids, but there are consequences all around. Even my daughter, and she's got a son of her own now, I still apply the 3-time rule to her. Please don't do that. I've asked you not to do that. Okay, you're really pushing it now. This is the 3rd and final time I'm telling you we're done. And she knows that I apply the 3-time rule, and she actually applies the 3-time rule to her son. So there you have it. Let's have another question or comment, can we?
Last one for right now.
Okay,
it's from Sarita. She says, thank you, Rosemary, for the love and the light. That she's watching us from Wales.
Oh, can you tell us whereabouts in Wales? My grandfather was from Wales. His name was David Edwards. Very Welsh name, don't you think? And of course my grandson's name is Rhys. Yes, the Welsh spelling, no vowels, R-H-Y-S. His name is Rhys. So we're sort of Welsh and Scottish combined. And my grandparents divorced in the days when there were no divorces. So you'll like this one because we all know you put the Welsh and the Scots together, they either work beautifully or they don't work at all, and because very, very strong-minded and wonderful people, both the Scots and the Welsh. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you'll come back and see us again. All right, we are done, I think. If anybody else does pop up here, as I'm talking, we can see to them, but the hour is almost up anyway. Gosh, did that go fast or what? Really? So, all right.
It felt really fast.
So, if you want to be on my mailing list, I will tell you again. If you email me, we will not automatically put you on. We'll only put you on if you request it. So, in the subject line, email. Email at Rosemary. Sorry, let me do that again. Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. If you want to join our Hands Around the World, our community of healers, please let us know. If you want healing, or you know of someone who would like healing, or you are a healer yourself and you need to join with us and combine your energy with us while you're giving healing, again, in the subject line healing, and let us know about that. If you want a consultation, again in the subject line consultation. You get seen to much quicker and easier if Michelle knows where she's going and what she's doing on any given day.
Remember to tell them to allot 4 to 6 weeks for a consultation that we're booked up.
Yeah, we are. Yes. Also, I know we have had some lovely people who've written and said, I want next Tuesday at 2:00 in the afternoon. And they think we're going to give it to them, but I'm afraid, unfortunately, you do have to make an appointment, and we do have cancellations from time to time, so it's always worth popping in and finding to see if we have a cancellation. But if you make an appointment and a cancellation comes up, you having made that appointment will be the first one who we give the opportunity to take that cancellation from. So we do make appointments, so please, it takes a few days for Michelle to get back to you, and especially in the next few weeks because Christmas is coming. Ooh, I'm so excited. So I'm always excited at Christmas. So you know, give us a few weeks, and we'll again remember what I said. If it's meant to be, if you are meant to have an appointment, and it's not a question of whether you think you need it, it's whether God thinks you need it, you'll get a cancellation. If you really need it, and if you don't really need it, I always tell people you don't always get what you want, but you always get what you need. So okay, so that's for consultations. And then if you want to know more about my new book, A Walk in the Clouds, again, email us. If you want to know more about our meditation CDs, we do have 4, plus we also have a fabulous CD. It's called A Conversation with Bob. Maybe I'll tell Bob's story next week, and maybe I'll show you the CD that I made with Bob. Yes, I made it with Bob, who has passed to the spirit world, but his message lives on. He was one of those people who came into our healing center and said, I just want you to know, I've been dragged here, don't believe in a thing you do. Well, did he change his tune? So if you want to know more about the meditation tapes, or if you want CDs, or if you want to know anything more about Conversation with Bob, or indeed, if you have any questions or anything you'd like to know, if you want healing, if you want to know more about the books and so on, again, email us, rosemary@rosemaryantaltea.com. We shall be here on Friday in the afternoon, I think. I tried to get hold of Al this morning, but couldn't get a hold of him. I'll be with my co-host Al Pisano, but we'll let you know in plenty of time if we are going to do it, or actually if we're not going to do it, because it's on my schedule, at least for now. And the subject will be, it has to be, doesn't it? It has to be about giving thanks, and how we don't always see the good things that are often right in front of our noses until they're not there anymore, until we lose them. So that's going to be our Everything is Attitude show. And again, we shall be back here next Thursday. We will be back next Thursday, won't we? Because nothing's going on next Thursday, right? We'll be back next Thursday for our YouTube, The Spirit World Sees All.
5th. December 5th.
December 5th. And so we'll have one more show after that. And then it's Christmas. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm so excited for Christmas. And you know, keep us posted on your, you know, if you're sick, you've been having healing, let us know what you're, you know, how you're doing with all of that. Please join us on my Facebook. We have 3 Facebook pages.
4.
We have it.
3.
We have
3,
a.
right.
We have a healing book, and we also have the regular Facebook page. And if you want to know more about anything else whatsoever, anything at all whatsoever, I'll say it one more last time. Email us, rosemary@rosemaryantaltea.com, and we'll get back to you with all the information that you need. For all of you who are indeed celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow, please have a very blessed day. I'm actually celebrating it in that my daughter is making salmon en croûte, but she's on the phone to me already. And what do I do with this, and how do I do that, and how should I make this, and so on and so forth. The last time she made, and the only time she made salmon en croûte before, she actually caused a massive fire because she put the salmon in the wrong way up. It should be salmon, dill butter, pastry. She turned it upside down. It was dill butter, salmon, pastry wrapped. But as the oven got hotter and the butter melted, instead of going all over the salmon and moistening the salmon and flavouring the salmon, it actually dripped into the dish and overflowed, and there was a fire in her apartment. And so there we have it. So I'm going to be talking you through that tomorrow. So please have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and for all of the rest of you, and for all of you in fact, please have a very, very blessed rest of the day. and have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. And for all of you who don't celebrate Thanksgiving, think of me. I shall be lounging around, reading, eating, making some chocolates. Who knows what I'm going to be doing, but I'm going to be having fun as well. So until I see you again next time, please, 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 all of you have a very, very, very wonderful, joyful and exciting time. And I don't even know if, no, it doesn't work. You see what happens here? Does that work? There we are. Who knows what I'm doing? I can't get it off, Michelle. Try again.